Howdy Internet, my name is Luke. This is Texas Modern Fine Arts, and I thought we'd just jump in and do a painting together. So I got this black canvas. It's actually a junk canvas that I don't know exactly how it got messed up, but it did. So I'm gonna try to salvage it. I got this black canvas. I'm gonna start right in the middle. Just a touch of blue on this black canvas. I'm just gonna knock in a nice little sky color. Maybe I'll throw in a nice little water feature here. And the good thing about a black canvas is it's got all those low lights built in by default. There we go. Boy, it is still so bright. Alright, so I'm thinking in this painting I want a nice bright little moonlight kind of feature. I just did this like long form YouTube shorts kind of like series. That's a good way of putting it. See, you are helpful.
Sometimes.
There you are, jumping in and helping me out.
Occasionally.
So what I want to do is I'm going to start for this center spot. I just want to work out, trying to get darker as I move along. Start from that center and just work your way out. I'll just throw this bright color down there too. Alright. And in these corners, what I like to do, I want to pull them back a little bit. But you want it to be darker on the corners, because those spots are going to be closer to you. And to get that effect of objects that are closer to you, or actually closer to you, what you want to do is make sure that you got, there we go, you got those darkest and brightest colors right up close. And if you think about it, the sky above you is the closest part of the sky that is next to you, so you want to make sure that you have your sky color get darker than the very top of your painting and this horizon line that we've kind of like developed. That's going to be the furthest away. Just go lightly through here. I'm just trying to blend these dark blues together. And you can already see like that center spot's already starting to glow. Let's get a nice clean brush going. I'm gonna come in here real soft. We're just trying to barely touch that canvas, not too much pressure. We're just trying to blend that together. And you can see that little glowing light. It's already starting to happen. Just like that. And it's just that easy. I got my little palette off to the side. And you just get those dark colors off in that far corners and work your way into that middle. Ooh, look at that. That's glowing already. That's not hard at all. This is my palette right here. So all I got is a little bit of white, a little bit of blue going. And the brighter you want that center, the more you just go back in and start with that pure white and work your way out. So if I want this little section in here a little bit brighter, touch that center of that canvas and just start working out from there. And I'm doing a little crisscross, a little X pattern kind of situation. I encourage you to kind of find out what works for you. So, it's important to clean your brush in between every little application. If you jump right back in the center of that again, with a dark, unclean brush, what's going to happen is it's going to completely dilute all that bright color you just put down. Now I'm working in acrylic right now, so I'm trying to make sure that I'm watering down that paint a little bit so it spreads a little bit more evenly. Be a glob of white. There we go. And we're just working out gradually from that little center section. And right now I'm just using a little scrubbing motion. It honestly doesn't matter. You just got to find out what works for you. Oh, whoosh, look at that. Boy, that's positively glowing. That's almost iridescent. It's good stuff. I got my little rags over here. I'm trying to clean out my brush as good as I can. Get back in some of that dark blue and black. I really should just actually record my mixing process. A little bit of blue. Just make it there. If you just want a nice dark blue color, we don't want to use pure black. Pure black is so strong, and that little mixture is really going to help kind of inform that little black color that you're throwing in there. Take my brush out. That little mixture is going to help inform all the other colors that you're putting in there. So I got my brush all nice and clean again. My hand's sopping wet. I got a little puddle of water here. You probably can't see it on camera, but it's there. I'm going to start right in between. A little scrub motion. I'm just real gently trying to like work my way back down to that bright spot. And it's all about pushing and pulling them darks and lights. There we go. And you can kind of see that we're developing levels in this painting. We got our darkest sections up in the corners. We got our lightest section right where our bright spot is. And if you just feel like your painting's going awry, let it dry a second. Sit back and think about it for a little bit. Let's start my bright section. I'm just going to work my way out again. And as I work my way out, I'm going to pick up all those other fresh colors that I put down. I'm just going to blend right into it as I move outwards. Anyway, so we get this really nice, man, look at that, there's glowing like a son of a gun. I'm going to clean my brush out again. And just work out real light, barely just touching it, barely touching that canvas. Clean the brush out again. Go back into it. I'm just going to blend it until we get it just the way we want it. It's going to tell us all we need to know about what's going on with this guy. And you can, like I said, you can just do this forever until you get it just so. It's important to clean your brush out, because if you go back in with a dirty brush, you're just going to cause yourself a lot more work than you need. It helps if you don't drop your brush. I'm just barely touching this canvas. And we're just smoothing out all those little parts. They don't quite, don't quite blend so well. Just real light. 2 hairs and a bit of air. You don't need that much to make this work. Alright. So we got this nice little glowing section going. I'm thinking we gotta throw some clouds in there. So we're gonna just a little touch of black. I'm gonna say a whole lot of this white. We're just gonna mix it right there. Now all this is about just kind of like balancing your darks and lights back and forth. It kind of doesn't really, in my opinion, matter all that much which comes first and which comes second. There we go. We got a little chunky cloud. We're just going to add this cloud right in front of this little dark corner over here. So right now, I'm saying this brightest spot's right over here. So we need to make sure our highlights indicate that. Maybe we'll just have another big old cloud coming through here too. Let's pick up some more of that dark color. There we go. You know, big old clouds coming in. Maybe this is all one big cloud. I think it's important to tell yourself a story as you're going along. It really helps make this process a lot more entertaining. Because that's what all painting is about. It's storytelling. Alright. We got a bunch of big old dark moody clouds just above that bright spot. So I'm going to come back in here, just a touch of white. And we're just going to touch the bottom of those clouds. Just add a little bit of contrast. Because our bright spot's here, so we want our bright spot to reflect that in our clouds. That light source is important. There we go. I'm just going to add that little bright spot. And that paint's still pretty wet on my canvas, even though this is acrylic and it dries fast. You know, if you're working quick, you'll get all these nice little blended textures in there. And I'm just lightly tapping, some of those in there. And if you ever overdo it, just let it dry out a bit, come back in. Fun fact, I just found out that this little recording device I use for my my YouTube, it has a pause mechanism. I never knew it. I could be pausing and coming back and letting it dry out this entire time. I had no idea. We're all just learning here. Alright, so let's say this is the brightest area. I'm going to get a big old lick of white on this little tiny brush. I'm going to say, boop. Right there's my moonlight. And so I'll pick it up because that light is pretty intense. So I'm saying, you know, maybe right there. There goes my moon. There it goes. You know what? Now I'll shut that garage real quick so that outside light doesn't interfere. That changed the way it looked? Well, a little bit. Yeah, so if you didn't know, I do all this in my garage. That's where I do all my painting. Alright. Let's get back into that, you know, a little bit of blue and white, and just kind of soften some of that up. Ooh, look at that! Look at that moonlight, boy, bright as hell. Does it look better if I turn this lamp off? Let's find out. I think it does. Oh yeah, I think it does. Alright, so we got all this wonderful moonlight going on. If you didn't know, I'm working on the fly. Well, there's your evidence. Okay, so let's get some plant life going in there. We'll get a little bit of this yellow. This is just some straight up primary colors that I picked up off the internet. I buy all this in liters. You don't want it to be too powerful of a color, so I'm really just mixing it right in with that sky color that I used earlier, because I want it to like neutralize it some. You see how like this section's a little bit lighter and duller than this section? That's that color I want. Because we're going to throw in some background trees, and maybe they just live right here. You know what? Just a touch of black. Let's get these a little bit darker. It's nighttime. We don't need to be quite that dark, quite bright. We don't want to confuse people and tell it's daytime when it's nighttime. There we go. Just some indication, some little background trees happening. Oh yeah. Ooh, look at that. That's looking good. It's always good to clean your brush out. That's one thing I forget often. I get lazy and I'll forget about that, cleaning my brush out. Alright, we got a little fan brush. A little fan brush right here. Let's get some of that white. We're just going to touch the edges of it. Just the edges. Just a little side to side. You want to make sure that you have that nice horizontal motion, because that's what's going to cause your water to look like it's laying nice and flat. We're just going to come in here. We're going to start small and work our way with a broader horizontal stroke. Just like that. That's going to cause that nice little highlighted glow on that water. Oh yeah, that's perfect. You know what? Let's put this little thing on here. Does that help? Ooh, it does help. Learning on the fly. You want to make that little shoreline action happen. Horizontal motion. Come in there. Figure out where your shoreline goes. Maybe a little island right here. Same thing on this side. Just a little bright spot, just to tell people that that shore laps up against that edge. A little fresh white right on that shore. There we go. Oh yeah, looks good. I just got paint all over my arm. Oh well. Okay. And as we get closer to the foreground, we want to pick up some of that brighter green color. So I want us to mix some nice greens up right here. We'll just tap in some little grassy guys. Just tap them. Let's go and tap them in. Not too much pressure. You just want to get that kind of like scattered textured look to them. As you get closer to the foreground, things tend to get a little bit more visible. Clean my brush out nice and good. Come back right on the top of it. And it's just going to dull it all back. Oh yeah, that's looking nice. Just tell the viewer that as we get closer, we can see better. And if we can see it better, we're going to see all those wonderful lights and darks. And that's really how you make them paintings look like they're coming right at you. The closer things get, the darker and more intense your color should be. Alright, so maybe a little bit of that yellow, a little bit of that blue. Like I said, my colors ain't fancy. Right there. This canvas is actually a little cattywampus because it got a little too wet last time I My daughter used it. She gave up on it, so I picked it back up and painted it black so we could work on it some more. But see, we have like the darks, and we have the lights, darks, lights, and then we get a little bit darker again. That's going to create levels in your painting. And that's what's going to cause that fantastic depth that you're probably looking for. And we're getting up close to the front, so what we want to do, a little touch of black on the end of that brush, some yellow and some blue. We'll come right back in here. A little bit more black. Nice little dark color because it's so bright through here. Maybe right through this bottom area. We got a nice little section of light going. Light, life, L-I-F-E, if I can get it correct. Little section of stuff right in front of us. You see how, like, again, dark, a little bit lighter, lighter, and then darker. We're playing with levels at this point. And this little dark spot right in front of us tells the viewer this is very, very close to us. Alright, let's see. I think it's time for a bravery test. Okay, so let me get some of this little brown color. I'm going to just drop it in with them greens I was using earlier. Right there, a little bit of brown. We're going to mix that brown up with some of those blues and greens that I had earlier. We just want to get a nice, rich, dark color. See, I'm even jumping in some of those blues and blacks I threw down earlier. Maybe just a touch of water, just to thin it out. Thin paint will stick to a thick paint typically, so if you're using that basic philosophy, you usually have a good combination going. Maybe right there. A touch of black. Let's darken it up some more. There you go. Just a little touch of black. We're going to darken that wood up. It's nighttime. It should be a little bit darker. We're just going to start throwing this tree in. I want to make sure my brush is nice and loaded up. And this is just a little bit of black, a little bit of brown, a little bit of blue, yellow, and green. All the colors we already used in this painting. Ooh, look at that. Boy, I tell you what. Right there, we're getting some nice little highlights on that trunk too. Look at this. This tree just jumped out in front of everybody. You'd say it's rude, but you know, this tree needs a spot to live too. Give that tree a friend. Every tree needs a friend. You hardly ever just see a tree just all by itself, and if you do see a tree all by itself, well, that's your incentive to go give it a buddy to live right next to it. Let's say right here. There we go. I have to actually touch the canvas to make it work. There we go. Another tree. You want it thicker at the bottom and at the top. That's how trees tend to grow. I'm just tap in some branches. This little tree just jumped right in front of the clouds. Oh well, bye clouds. The tree lives here now. Oh yeah, that's looking good. Pick myself up we'll pick ourselves up a nice new clean brush. I'm gonna get the same color right here. Look at that white. We're just gonna mix here on the far edge. We're gonna try to get ourselves a nice light, kind of like tan color going. And I'm just trying to pull that paint down here. Just get that little tan color going. Moon's on this side. You know, just a little touch. You know, if you want to just tap it in, just get some of that rugged kind of texture to it. That's good too. Maybe a little bit on this back side. just so the viewer knows that light's bending around both sides of that tree, so it's a nice rounded look. Oh yeah. I have to come up with some, some guys soon. Woo! That thing just straight fell over. Well,
Ghost.
That's what you get. Ah!
Ghost.
It's a ghost. Is it a ghost?
The garage ghost is angry.
Personally, I blame the sour cream container that I was using to hold it up.
I blame the garage ghost.
If that threw you off, it was this guy. Blame the sour cream container, not me. Alright, let's tap that back in. We won't skip a beat. Boy, look at this. We got some texture going on this tree. No problem. It's looking good. Alright. So, we want to whip ourselves up a nice dark color. We have all these bright clouds back here. Again, we're going to get some of that yellow, some of that blue. Just throw it right down in that dark color I whipped up earlier. Because that's going to help really get that nice dark color. Because you want to like jump in front of this little bright sky color. Oh boy, there they are. Big old trees. Maybe there's some there's some small branches right here that we don't even see. We're just going to pretend like they're there. Oh yeah, there they go. Because that's so bright, I'm going to jump back into that yellow, over that blue. Look at just a touch of that white too, just to brighten it up some. I'm going to find some nice little highlights right along the edges where that moonlight just jumps in. Lets that tree know that it's still got a little bit of reflected sunlight on it. Just like that. So you could really overdo it. You want to make sure that you have a nice little balance of lights and darks. Oh yeah, there we go. You ever just feel like you go too ham-fisted one way or the other? Let it dry out, jump back in, do it again. The good thing about painting, you can just come back and edit as much as you want. Alright, so we got all these little bushy boys back here. Maybe we'll just come back in here and just throw some highlights on these bushy guys. And you want to make sure you have a nice brush with some good texture. This brush is about, you'd think it was done with its lifespan, but no. Not around these parts. Let's get a touch of red. I'm really trying to dole that red out some. Just for some variety. Let's go ahead and tap that guy in there. And you see how we just got this balance. Back and forth, lights and darks. That's what you should be focusing on. Now I should have come in here and touched up all these little bushy boys before I threw those trees in. But I got excited, so there you go. It works out like that sometimes. A little bit of white, a little bit of yellow on this. Let me make sure that these little edges are really glowing with that moonlight. Just here and there. Not too much. Real easy to overdo it. And like I said, if you overdo it, don't beat yourself up. Let it dry out. Heck, if it gets to be like too much, you can do what I did at the beginning of this when I was talking about my daughter had this painting and just left it completely undone. My daughter's a fantastic painter. She loves painting. And I love that she does it. But every time she leaves something behind and forgets it, boy, if you don't think I'm not going to jump in there and take it right back, got me mistaken. There's no shortage of canvases in my house. But yeah, look at that. Boy, I tell you, we got ourselves a nice little moonlit scene right here. Okay. Well, I think we just got about as far as we can get on this one. Now, I say that because every artist knows that it can be difficult sometimes to say when. And I know that firsthand all too well. I feel like I could fuss with a painting just about forever. So it's important to know when you've done a good job and pat yourself on the back. Oh yeah, we're gonna throw in some just a little shore, little darks that go in here. I'm gonna brush out. Now this brush is basically completely clean. It's just got some water on it, and all I'm gonna do is come in here and just slightly tap some of these real dark, intense areas I put in here. And I just kind of want to frame that moonlight a little bit. Get some nice low lights in there. And because this brush has just basically got nothing but water on it, it's going to really balance out that intense color I just threw down. Let's get some of that. A little bit of white, a little bit of blue. Let's go right here. Get a little bit more white. Oh, a nice bright blue. Oh, some yellow kissed that brush too. That's fine, we got some yellow in there already. Just come in here, here and there. Just play it back and forth until you got something you feel good about. You know what? Last thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put that crisp little moonlight section. So it just looks like that light is bouncing across that water. I'm just going to get a whole bunch of white right here on this little section right there on my little palette. I'm going to just load up my brush nice and heavy. There goes that moonlight. We're just going to walk this color side to side. Just like that. And it's just as simple. I'm just about out of time, but I think you can see how this goes, and you can kind of just play around with it until you get something you're really proud of. And this isn't complicated. Everyone can do this. And if you're uncomfortable or not confident, do it on something cheap. There's no reason why you can't just grab yourself an old piece of cardboard and the cheapest paint you can get a hold of and make this happen too. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and sign this son of a gun. Oh, don't put that brush in your mouth. Don't put the brushes in your mouth. Some of these paints ain't good for you. That's a bad habit of me. I like to make a point on that brush with my mouth, and I shouldn't be doing that. So we're going to hit this little L. We're going to hit a little W. That's Luke Wedgeworth. There we go. Put the year on it too, 23. A little bit more red. Just a little bit. Get that 3 standing out. Alright. Well, hopefully you learned something. And don't be shy. Pick up a paintbrush. Give this one a try too. Because, look at this. I got the pause button. I'm so excited I learned that. You can do this too. It ain't hard. It ain't complicated. Have faith in yourself. You can do this. I'm trying to stop recording. I might edit this out. OBS Studio 4242. Definitely gotta edit this part out. Stop recording, yes.